We're joined right now by Billy Kratzert on the program. Billy, what's going on, my man? I know you were busy all week broadcasting the Masters as part of the dedicated coverage, which was excellent, incidentally. I loved what both of you guys did throughout the course of the week, bringing us so much of the coverage. So let me throw a broad net at you to start things out. What was your reaction to the Masters that just took place?
Well, I've just taken my fourth B12 shot because my energy was just absolutely exhausted, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so compelling, just the dichotomy of shots and situations that happened. But you saw the resilience. You saw the resilience of a Justin Rose who didn't get the job done on Saturday, but went out there and made 10 birdies on Sunday, pushed Rory to the limit. You saw Rory hit the fabulous iron shot on Sunday. He backed it up with the shot that he hit on Saturday on 15, the par 5. Matt, it was unbelievably good and compelling, and the viewership, the ratings showed it.
Yeah, I want to talk to you guys about the ratings in just a second too, but I wanted to ask you, Curtis, a question about the golf course itself. The second night played about a stroke more difficult than the first. The question I have for you, though, is can you give us a perspective, can you give us an understanding of just how tough Augusta National was in 2025?
Friday afternoon made it really tough for the overall scoring average because of the wind. And the wind, what does the wind do? It wreaks havoc with the players. But it also dries out those greens very, very quickly that were already getting dried out. And I'm not being critical at all. I love it. It because it's their personality. I think Sunday afternoon, both Saturday and Sunday were hot, dry sun on those greens. In the afternoon they're going to be diabolical, and that's. When your nerves are on the edge of your fingertips, fast greens are very, very tough. It's like the pitch over the bunker off a tight lie. That's the shot you don't want when you're nervous. And these greens all day are like that. So it just became very difficult. Not unplayable at all, because look at Justin Rose. He got it done, and a few others got it done. But it wears on you. And as that Billy said, I just got to say, Billy said he was exhausted yesterday. I didn't get off the couch, Billy. I was exhausted. I had to drive home 9 hours, and I got to tell you, from listening to the round of golf on my phone all way home, it's exhausting to even listen to it, the ups and downs. But that's what everybody likes. Everybody in the world will want to edge of their seat, and it was terrific as always.
Hey, Curtis, I can promise you, when Rory hit it into the creek on 13. I'm glad you have autocorrect on your automobile, because I guarantee you kind of jiggled it a little bit.
Gents, to that point, Billy, let me start with you. I can. So much of this conversation already today and the discussion since the victory has been about stress, has been about nerves, has been about reaction and overcoming it. At what point, Billy, do you think that those nerves were the most acute for Rory? After the double bogey, or perhaps when he dunked it in the water at 13? How would you sort all that?
Well, you have a couple situations right off the bat. You start the final round out with a double bogey, so now all of a sudden you're back on your heels a little bit. And then, of course, you get to the 13th hole and have no idea what happened with that. But then once you lose the lead, Curtis made a great point. You go back to what you do naturally. And when he had to hit that massive hook around the trees into the 15th, then you kind of get back onto doing what you do with your golf game, and you go back to the natural shot. It's tough to do, but I thought once he hit the shot at 15, everything was very much in control, and I thought, from that point forward, he was going to go ahead and be the champion without the playoff. But the nerves, the acuteness of those nerves, it never stops until the job is done.
Yeah, Billy, I don't think he ever really settled in yesterday. It didn't look like, or Sunday didn't look like it. I agree. The first hole, that's your worst nightmare. 13 is a shot that we don't see very often from professional players, and when it happens in that situation, it's nothing but nerves,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes you do things that you go, what's going on here? And there's panic that sets in. I actually think I agree with both of those 100%. But the second shot at 18 was shocking as well. And first of all, when you drive it that far, that's the advantage Rory has and a few others. He hits wedge into the 18th. What did Justin Rose hit, Billy K? 7-iron, 6-iron up there? So there's the difference in. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it was 8-iron, but
Okay.
At least 3 clubs more.
I'm still betting on the guy with a sandwich versus 8-iron. So, but and now he doesn't get it up and down. And I thought regrouping, and I thought what his caddy said to him going to the first playoff hole was absolutely ideal. He said to him that, would you have taken a playoff this past Monday morning for the Masters? He said, yes, I would. He said, okay, let's get it done. So but because he hit those shots, it just never looked like he really settled in and played Rory McIlroy golf.
Did you not think of, because of the Wake Forest connection, did you not think of Arnold right away when that happened?
Absolutely. Call in to CBS, bring up Arnold. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So I got a question, Curtis. If I may, I want to jump in with you first because both of you had careers that spanned.
I'm going to interrupt. The stuff in commercials is a whole lot better than what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I got to tell you what. Yeah. That's a whole different show. That's a whole different show. But both of you guys had careers that were bridges from era to era. Both of you came into the PGA Tour when the likes of, Arnold Palmer were still in full flight. Certainly, obviously, Jack Nicklaus and more, all the way up to the new players that were being introduced at the time that became legends themselves, and many of whom are in the World Golf Hall of Fame. So my question to you is, when you have a great of the great of the great that has accomplished the fame, the glory, the money, the wins, the majors, all of that, is it a gift when you can stay motivated, when you can stay focused, when you continue to strive for more?
Everybody has their own DNA in their makeup. At a younger age, you never think you're going to lose flexibility. You never think you're going to lose your motivation. You always love the game, and eventually you do. There's been a few outliers out there, and Hale Irwin and Bernard Langer, and I think even and he wouldn't agree to this, even Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer, especially Arnold. They played for a long time and played well for a long time. But I would say yes. It is a gift to stay in the game for many, many years.
Billy, do you think it's the same thing? I have a personal theory that how you handle pressure, how you handle stress, we make it seem as though it's about how you're coached or how you're raised or the hardships maybe that you have endured in your life. It was a narrative that really didn't work for the story of Jack Nicklaus when you looked at his family, where he came from, and all the rest. But that's why I have this feeling that it's about how you're hardwired in your body. I've seen linebackers that could literally run through a brick wall, and yet they can barely hold on to a golf club in a pro-am. So is there merit to that? Is there something to the best of the best that they too have a gift, and their gift might be just about how they're wired to be able to handle the crushing pressure of circumstance?
Well, I think you can look at a Justin Rose, you can look at Adam Scott, who are now in their 40s, and the continuance of what they do off the golf course, on the golf course, preparation. They know they have to do a little bit more. And in answer to your question, yeah. I mean, I've often said that players go in and out of confidence more than they do form. And you can always make a correction, but it's really difficult to make a correction with the way you think on the golf course and just how much clarity you have in high pressure situations. You have to put yourself there quite a bit, a lot. Curtis was able to do that. He put himself in that position to succeed many, many times. And to hear him say, making that 4-footer, my hands were sweaty, all the emotions going through. It's all to process how you go through that. And the great ones get it done. But yeah, there's a different wiring and a different. Everyone's competitive, but there's a different competitiveness among the greats.
So, Curtis, you heard me telling a little story about Jimmy Demerit saying, "Oh yeah, Ben spoke all the time on the golf course. He would say you're away." I know you two guys, and I know you were smiling when Bryson was asked about what he and Rory talked about, and Bryson said he didn't talk to me all day. Coming from a guy, Curtis, that was a multiple-time major champion, that you weren't known for being particularly chatty on the golf course either. What was your reaction when you heard that?
Nick Faldo and I, in the playoff for the U.S. Open, other than, I'm not so sure I said good luck. I said something like, have a good day. And he mumbled something, and that was the last until something on the 18th green. And that was exactly the way both of us wanted it. That's exactly the way it should have been played. Two highly competitive, focused people chatting about the wife and kids. It doesn't work. And this was, we talk. I mean, but in Rory's case, it was the highest, most important day of his life so far in the game of golf. Sunday, it was going to be the hardest round of golf in his life. It's perfect. I can't fathom what Bryson is thinking about or talking about. And so if he wants to be chatty, that's fine. Go talk to his caddy and other players, but don't bring it on me, because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to say anything. I got hammered a few years ago when I saw two guys that play off at a tour event chatting going off the first tee. I don't want to do anything or say anything that's going to possibly make you more comfortable. That's the whole point.
Billy, how much did you and Seve enjoy chatting when you were playing together?
Well, there was a language barrier, which I was very much okay with. And so, you just kind of go through the round, and he was a Masters champion. My hands were full. I didn't have a great day. We had an issue on the second hole, and then it from where it was, I thought maybe during the day it would go up, but then it went straight down. And but he was able to kind of regroup and play well. I did not, but I'm with Curtis. If you want to talk to the people, talk to the patrons along the way, that's fine. Bryson can do that. Lee Trevino, one release for him was, to talk. And he did a lot of talking, and he was very successful, winning 6 majors. So, but I think more and more you get a guy like a Nicklaus, a Tom Watson, Curtis Faldo. You just go down the line, and 90% of the time, you're going to get the situation that you got on Sunday with Bryson and Roy. Yeah,
I remember it was Tony Jacklin that told me the story, and I believe, if memory serves me, he was referencing the 1972 Open at Muirfield, and he was paired with Lee Trevino, as you might recall famously. And coming off the first tee, Mr. Trevino was doing what he did. He was talking away, and Tony Jacklin said to him, Lee, I really don't want to talk today, and I want to focus on my game. I really don't want to talk today. Lee Trevino said, you guys know the story. He said, well, you don't have to talk. You just have to listen. All right, so, gents, here's where I want to go now. I want you to take a look at this graphic that we put together, and this is based upon players, and many of these names you guys have already mentioned so far today, interestingly enough. But this is based upon players that have 5 or more major championships and at least 29 wins, because that's the number that Rory just achieved on the PGA Tour. When you look at that list, bear in mind it does not have Bobby Jones on it. He would have 7 majors as defined by, I call them major championships of this era, not including his British or U.S. amateurs. If those were included as majors at his time, he'd be at 13. But he's not even on this list. So you see Rory right now on the list is at 12th. Here's my question. Is Rory McIlroy, by virtue of being only one of 6 that have achieved a career Grand Slam, is he right now top 10 all time?
I'm counting down, Matt, on my fingers. When you look at, for instance, to qualify what I'm going to say, when you look at Tom Watson, you wouldn't put him in front of Tom Watson, even though Tom did not win the Grand Slam. He won 5 Opens for the total of 8 majors. So certainly Tom would be ahead of Rory in the top 10. And the ability to play the game the way Trevino played the game, who I think was the best ball striker that I ever saw. Byron Nelson went in 18 in 1 year. I think he's around 10th. He could be he'll be around 10th. These guys, that's a hard one because Rory is he's in the prime of his career. So it's a bit unfair for Rory, but these guys on this list are pretty incredible.
Yeah, you look at this list, Curtis, and the name that stands out to me is Byron Nelson. He had a short career because he accomplished what he had wanted to, and then he just kind of said, I'm done with competitive golf. But I'm going to go ahead and say I would put Rory, in that 8, 9, or 10 slot, simply because he puts himself in a situation in big tournaments, big championships. He puts himself in a situation to win. Does he always come through? No, but he's always playing in the toughest field. He's always, seemingly there. And, as you kind of look to the future, multiple majors are certainly in that future. And I think now that he's accomplished this goal, I don't think there's any telling now that the pressure is on just how far he takes it.
That's a perfect place for me to pick this up. And Curtis, I'm going to direct it back to you because Billy pretty much just answered it for us, but I'm curious what your perspective is nonetheless. Rory McIlroy, from this point forward, you'd mentioned that he's in the prime of his career. What do you expect from Rory? Is 11 years drought broken? The curse has been dispensed now with the majors. What do you expect from him?
We've already talked about that a lot in the last day and a half. I actually think this is the pinnacle of his career, no matter what happens after this, because it was the Grand Slam, it was the Masters, it was after 11 years of carrying that burden to win the Slam. It's all up to Rory, Matt and Billy. You're out there a whole lot more than I am. I'd be anxious to hear what you say, but I think he wins more. Absolutely, he wins more. But does he keep the fire in his belly, the drive, the determination? I think he does, but it's certainly a question and conversation. I think he goes on and wins more. Does he win 4 or 5 more? Well, who knows? But I will say this: he still has the talent, and if he still has the focus and determination and the work ethic, he will do well.
I actually think, Curtis, I think the energy increases with this win because you talk about, the magnitude of this win at the Masters and what it does. And up until this point, I want to say it was the Open Championship, because that's one that he dearly wanted to win as a young boy. And so when you look at the Open Championship and you look at the Masters, of the 5 majors, you can put the other 3 right in the middle, because those are the bookends right now, the Open Championship and the Masters. And I just happen to think that now that I've got this weight off of my shoulders and I've completed the Grand Slam, now I'm sitting on G waiting for the O. So let's go. And I think he wins more.
Yeah, I mean, when you guys look at the graphic that's on the screen right now, the PGA Championship is at Quail Hollow, where he's already won 4 times in the course of his career. The U.S. Open is at Oakmont, which is a driver's paradise, and then the Open returns to his backyard at Royal Portrush, where as a 16-year-old he shot a 61 on that golf course. No, he didn't play well the last time the Open was there. The first time in 71 years it was back on the island. Certainly this is a different Rory McIlroy right now. So when we're having this conversation about future potential, Curtis, the future for Rory might just be 3.5 weeks down the road.
Yeah, that's a good question. Does he win one the rest of the year? How can you say no with the venues? He's playing well. And I like what Billy said. I really hadn't thought about it, but the burden lifted off of him. Now he's free to go play. I like that. And I think that's the way Rory plays his best, isn't it, Billy? Freedom, not encumbered with a lot of thoughts. And I think Rory sometimes gets too caught up in what's up here. It's not that complicated. And when you're as talented as he is, so talented, just be Rory McIlroy. Just go play. And I think everything will work out just fine for him.
I agree.
So, Billy, I want to ask you a question because, as I say to you all the time, you work for every single network that broadcasts golf. Every single one, including television and radio. So,
that's because he's so good.
He is that good. Yeah, I love working with Billy. In fact, my favorite thing with Billy is going out to dinner with him because he's really good at picking the wine, too. So my question, Billy, is this. The television ratings on CBS were record, 12.7 million average, over 19 million at their peak. The ratings on ESPN with Curtis and with Scott Van Pelt hosting were at a record level on Thursday and Friday. The ratings consistently are coming in better than last year, where last year the whole narrative was, what's wrong with golf? The ratings are going down. Now they're swinging the other way. I guess the easy question, I suspect it is very complicated, is what is going on? Why is 2025 on such an upswing?
Well, I think when you start looking at the urgency in the schedule this year, Matt and Curtis, that, okay, now all of a sudden you're seeing more guys of the upper level play a little bit more because, the opportunities, top 100, there's a lot of things that go into it. But I think, Matt, what we're seeing is we're seeing the quality of golf that we anticipate. And we look at a Rory McIlroy. You win at one of the cathedrals of golf, Pebble Beach, now Augusta National, Scotty Scheffler. The interest after the injury and not getting the early start that he wanted to. JT's come close a couple of times. You start thinking about JT, 3-shot lead, exhausted, didn't win. Morikawa, 3-shot lead, exhausted, didn't win. You start looking at these leads and the volatility. It's just not a slam dunk anymore. It's pretty exciting when I start watching these guys under pressure and what they're doing. No lead is safe. So I think the fact that these guys are so good and they're so close, there's only maybe 3 or 4 of those top players that can separate themselves, but we have seen them go the other direction. So I think golf right now is so competitive. That's why the ratings are up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Billy. But I think it's strictly determined by who's in the field and who's playing well. We are a society of watching superstars, the best. the best teams, the best individuals, the best quarterback, whoever that is. So, and it's been a good year. It's been a good year for those guys to play well. I marvel at the ratings yesterday. You know, it peaked at 19 and change from 7 to 7:30 on Sunday night. That's Tiger Woods, territory. So that was a good week. But I think it's momentum too, isn't it, Billy? I think this will build. The rest of the year will be good because of what will Rory do? Will Scotty come back? Can Justin Rose pull one off? That type stuff. The narrative is always there in so many different ways, which brings the viewer in. And I think golf is certainly in a better place than it was a couple of years ago. It's still not chaos free, but it's in a better place than it was a couple of years ago, and it's the viewership is there.
I love the way that Curtis just framed that when he said the narrative is always there, and that's why we love talking to these two legends. Gents, thank you very much for your time today. Fascinating insights. I wish we actually had more time, and I really wish that you guys could hear what happens during the commercials. But until next time, thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Curtis.
See you guys.
Thanks, Billy K.
All right.
Matt, good being with you.
I enjoyed it. Curtis, thank you so much. Thanks, Billy.